Have you ever felt completely alone, even when you're surrounded by people? What if the most powerful man in ancient Rome felt the same way and found strength in it? And what if the cure for loneliness has been hidden in the pages of an old weathered journal for nearly 2,000 years? Welcome to Quiet Stoic Power, where timeless wisdom whispers through the silence. In today's video, we're diving into the mind of Marcus Aurelius, emperor, philosopher, and the ultimate master of solitude. If you've ever felt isolated, lost in your thoughts, or abandoned by the world, stay with us. Because within the Stoic writings of Marcus, you may find a gentle hand reaching across centuries to remind you that you're never truly alone. Now let's begin, not with pity, not with complaint, but with a man who ruled the Roman Empire and still found time to write to himself about the pain of being human. Marcus didn't write his meditations for the world. He wrote them in private, in the darkest hours of the night, while sitting in military camps away from his family, his friends, his comforts. That fact alone is remarkable. This was the most powerful man in the known world, and yet he battled the same emotional storms you and I do: loneliness, doubt, emptiness, and yet somehow peace. There's something poetic in that, and it's where we begin. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, wrapped in a simple cloak, seated alone in a dimly lit tent. The empire stretches beyond the mountains outside, his soldiers huddled around campfires, the wind biting through the canvas walls. And yet, in this cold and distant place, Marcus opens his journal and writes, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He was talking to himself, but he was also talking to you. That's the essence of Stoicism, the understanding that external circumstances may shift like sand in the wind, but your mind, your inner citadel, can remain still, grounded, whole. When the noise of the world fades and you're left with nothing but your thoughts, what do you hear? Do you spiral into regret? Or do you listen gently to the voice that tells you you are still here? Marcus knew solitude. He embraced it. Not because he wanted to be isolated, but because he realized we cannot control who comes and goes in our life, but we can choose how to face the silence they leave behind. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are full of despair, then your world will feel heavy. But if you train your mind, even in loneliness, to seek strength, then you begin to change. Not because the pain disappears, but because you become someone who can carry it, with grace." So, what do you do when loneliness hits? According to Marcus, you return inward. He often reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. It sounds so simple. But the moment you sit in a room alone, when no one is texting back, when no friend is calling, when no distraction is enough, that's when his words become alive. You have power over your mind. What does that mean? It means you can choose your focus. You can choose not to let emptiness consume you. You can step back and observe, what is this feeling, what's beneath it, and what can I learn from it? Because here's something Marcus understood better than most. Loneliness is not a punishment. It's an invitation to reconnect with yourself, to ask, who am I when no one else is watching? What do I value? What do I believe? What kind of life do I want to live? Not to impress others, not to chase approval, but for myself. And that's where real strength begins. There's a common misunderstanding about Stoicism, that it means suppressing emotions. But Marcus never said, don't feel. He said, reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. He taught that while you may feel pain, you don't have to become it. You can acknowledge the loneliness and still smile. You can feel the ache of silence and still get up in the morning, make your bed, pour your coffee, and write one more page of your own private meditations. That's Stoicism. Not a denial of emotion, but a discipline of perspective. When you begin to see solitude not as emptiness, but as space, space for thought, space for reflection, space for rebirth, then you stop fearing it. You start honoring it. Marcus didn't retreat into his mind to escape the world. He went there to return stronger, and you can too. It begins by embracing the pause, the stillness, The moment where it's just you and your breath and your thoughts. That quiet place where no noise reaches, no distraction pulls, and no one else's voice drowns out your own. You might ask, but what if I don't like what I hear in my mind? Then good. That means you've found the place where change begins. And that is sacred. Remember what Marcus wrote. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Don't wait for the crowd. Don't wait for applause. Don't wait for the loneliness to pass. Use it. Build within it. Grow despite it. That's what he did. And you can too. Let's go deeper. When we think of loneliness, we often see it as something to run from, something shameful, something we must fix immediately with noise, people, screens, or distractions. But Marcus Aurelius, this Stoic emperor, he walked straight into it. He sat with it, and he asked it, "What are you here to teach me?" He knew that no title, no palace, no army, no crowd could ever fill the void inside if you haven't made peace with yourself. And that's the core of this message. You can change your location, you can scroll endlessly, you can chase every possible distraction, but at the end of the day, you carry your mind with you. So how do we build a mind that doesn't fear being alone? Start here. Take Marcus's words. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. It's not just a nice quote to put on your wall, it's a practice, an active daily effort to strip away what doesn't matter, to challenge your beliefs, to ask yourself, what do I truly need to feel whole? Not what society says, not what social media shows, but what your soul whispers when everything else goes quiet. And here's something no one tells you. Loneliness is one of the few experiences that can strip away the illusion of control. When you're alone, your image doesn't matter. Your resume doesn't matter. Your follower count doesn't matter. It's just you. And in that vulnerability lies freedom. Freedom to build. Freedom to heal. Freedom to become. Marcus understood that too. In his loneliest moments, he didn't give up. He didn't numb himself. He returned to the fundamentals. He wrote, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not in your possession." Gratitude. The antidote to loneliness is not more people. It's more presence, more awareness of your breath, of your mind, of your strength, because that's what Stoicism is ultimately about. Choice. You cannot choose what the world gives you, but you can always choose how to respond. So in the still hours of the night, when loneliness feels sharp and cold, you can sit down, breathe deep, and ask, what would Marcus Aurelius do? He would write. He would reflect. He would remind himself, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Even loneliness can become a path, if you let it. So tonight, if the silence feels heavy, don't fight it. Sit with it, let it wash over you. Listen to what it's saying, and instead of fearing it, speak to it. Say, I see you, but you will not break me, because you are more than your isolation. You are more than your pain. You're not just surviving this moment, you are learning from it, shaping it, using it as fuel. Every moment spent alone is a chance to come home to yourself, and what you find there can be powerful. Remember, Marcus led an empire, but he found his true leadership not through commanding others, but through mastering himself. And you don't need to wear a crown to start doing the same. Let's continue this journey inward. One of the most striking things about Marcus Aurelius was how little he relied on external validation. He wasn't writing meditations to impress anyone. He didn't plan for anyone to ever read his words. That's what makes them so raw, so human, and so honest. He was writing for himself, to guide himself, to remind himself of who he wanted to be, even when no one was watching. Think about that. We live in a world obsessed with being seen, with sharing, posting, broadcasting every part of our lives. And yet here was a man, ruling an empire, who chose to spend his most intimate moments quietly reflecting on his thoughts, questioning his intentions, anchoring himself through self-discipline and humility. That is Stoic power, and it's something we desperately need today, especially in our loneliest moments When you feel invisible, unworthy, forgotten, do what Marcus did. Don't run to be seen. Run inward to be centered. He wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Loneliness can feel like a kind of death, a fading, a quiet erasure of meaning. But Marcus is reminding us, as long as you are breathing, you can begin again. You can rebuild. You can choose to live fully, even if no one else sees it. That's what Stoic solitude is about. Not escaping life, but finally choosing to live it deliberately. And if you feel like you're falling apart, you are not broken. You are breaking open. Marcus Aurelius faced tragedy after tragedy, children lost, betrayals, wars, plagues, and yet through it all he wrote with calm, with clarity, with conviction. Why? Because he trained his mind to see everything, even pain, as part of the natural order. He said, everything that happens, happens as it should, and if you observe carefully, you will find this to be so. Now that doesn't mean you won't feel the sting of loneliness, or that it won't come back in waves. It means you accept that it's part of the journey, and by accepting it, you remove its power to control you. You start walking through it instead of around it. And the more you walk with loneliness, the less terrifying it becomes. Fear starts to feel like an old companion, not your enemy, but your teacher. It teaches you patience, it teaches you to listen, it teaches you that silence is not empty, it's full of answers. Marcus believed in this so deeply that he didn't just write about it, he lived it, he modeled it. Even when he was surrounded by courtiers and generals, he remained rooted in the quiet discipline of his own mind. That's a practice we can all learn. He once wrote, "Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect." When we're lonely, we sometimes compromise. We reach for relationships that don't serve us. We numb ourselves with cheap comfort. We drift into self-pity. But the Stoic path reminds us, hold your dignity, even in solitude. Especially in solitude, because that's when it's tested most. When no one's watching, do you still live with honor? When you feel empty, do you still choose gratitude? When you're unseen, do you still remember your worth? These are Stoic questions, and they don't just apply to philosophers or emperors, they apply to you. So the next time you find yourself alone, don't panic, don't fill the space, don't numb the ache. Sit down, close your eyes, and ask yourself, what would Marcus Aurelius write right now if he were me? He wouldn't whine, he wouldn't rage, he wouldn't escape, he would reflect, he would say, here is life, let me meet it with strength. And so can you. Let's bring this message home. Picture Marcus Aurelius once more. Not as a distant emperor, but as a man, alone, writing by flickering candlelight after another day of loss, of battle, of burdens he couldn't share with anyone else. His pen scratches gently across the parchment. He doesn't write for fame. He doesn't write to boast. He writes because it's the only way to stay anchored. His world is falling apart, and yet he remains, because he has cultivated the rarest of all skills, inner stillness. This is the ultimate Stoic power, to remain steady when the storm rages, to be at peace when the world offers you nothing but silence, to be whole when you have no one to lean on but yourself. Marcus reminds us that solitude is not an absence, it's a presence. It's a space where you can finally hear the whisper of your own soul, and that whisper might be saying, you've survived things that tried to break you, you've kept going when no one was clapping, you've shown up for yourself when no one else did. That is not weakness, that is quiet Stoic power. And maybe you don't feel strong right now. That's okay. Marcus didn't always feel strong either. That's why he wrote these things down, not because he had mastered life, but because he was trying to. Like you are. He wasn't a perfect man, but he was a persistent one. And that's what makes this message so powerful. Because it's not about being unshakable, it's about being resilient. It's about choosing again and again to return to your principles, to your breath, to your journal, to your truth, to say, I am enough, even here, even now. You may feel invisible, but you are not alone in your invisibility. Marcus sat with it too. Seneca did, Epictetus did, All the great Stoics wrote and thought and walked through their own empty spaces and came out the other side, not with bitterness, but with clarity. You can too. If you feel like you've lost yourself, in the silence let Marcus remind you, look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. The answer is not out there, it never was. It is within. So tonight, instead of trying to silence the loneliness, listen to it. Instead of trying to fill the void, feel it. Instead of running from the quiet, rest in it. This is your practice. This is your path. This is your power. It will not always be easy. There will be nights when it hurts, mornings when it feels hollow, but you are not alone in that experience. You are walking in the footsteps of emperors and philosophers, warriors and sages, all who faced the same thing and made something beautiful out of it. So write, reflect, sit in the stillness, and remember, you don't need a crowd to be complete. You don't need validation to be valuable. You don't need anyone's permission to be at peace. Marcus Aurelius knew that, and now so do you. If these Stoic quotes helped you find peace in your loneliness, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. More Stoic wisdom is on the way.